Welcome, welcome. It is our monthly energetic brew class. I'm excited to be here. My name is Rochelle McFarland. You have found yourself in the space where we are going to break down little snippet and pieces about what is going to be happening in Gemini season. So the solar season of Gemini. I am so excited to be here. My name is Rochelle McFarland, which I already said. And you know what? Gemini is something about my foundation, and I like to repeat myself. So that is just a little bit of a hint of watching what can happen in your chart when you know about it. You can catch yourself in those little interesting synchronicities. I am joined here with my lovely co-host. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Zane, and tonight, yeah, we are going over the Gemini solar season and what to expect tonight. To give you a little bit of a taste test of what to expect tonight, we'll be talking about the Pluto retrograde a little bit and a little bit about Pluto, and we will possibly get into a little bit of Jupiter and how that might show up moving into Gemini as well. And where my Gemini sits in my natal chart is the 10th house, the house of business. So who knows, maybe I'll be a little bit more chatty tonight than I have been in the previous last few.
Is that a threat or a promise?
I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
So good. So we're here to edutain you. We're here to be able to educate you, entertain you at the same time, because life is more fun with giggles and creating that space of wholesomeness. So we're here tonight on this beautiful Thursday is when this recording is happening. Those of you that are watching the recording. And it is such an interesting day today. It is a day of foundation, and the moon is actually in Gemini. So, this is sort of an interesting time for us to be really talking more about Gemini energy. Before we get into our grounding practice and welcoming in the directions, I just want to ask, has the energy felt quick to you? Gemini is quick energy. It's mutable. It's an air sign. It has a lot of capacity to really get us growing into spaces, having more conversations. And since it's ruled by Mercury, there's this real part about the nervous system too. So if you're noticing that there's really a lot of quick, fast things happening, you're going to want to just, if you're watching the recording right now, you might want to pause, get yourself into a cozy place, because we're about to call in the directions and to do our grounding practice of just getting and landing here and being able to soothe that nervous system in a way that, well, I truly believe, I'll stand on my own pedestal for a moment in a good way. I really believe you're not going to get any practices like we give you when it comes to astrology and blending kinesiology together. That's part of what we're here to do, is create this energy medicine practice that soothes you through these transits. And so with that, inviting you, if it feels good, just to join me in a couple of breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling out the mouth. And as you breathe at your own pace and what feels good in your own body, honoring that breath, feeling it come in and feeling it come out, noticing your feet, your seat, however it is, maybe you're laying down right now, just really allowing yourself to feel supported by that space right now, just dropping in a little bit further, staying with your own natural breath. Hmm. And as we call in Mama Gaia, the earth medicine, honoring the land that we are upon, and of course, honoring the sky above, calling these two infinite wisdom filled energies that have always loved us and have always been there for us. And we come and we ask upon you to come and come into this space so that we can surrender into fully who we are, fully in how we want to show up right now in this moment, calling on the south, the west, the north, and the east. These four winds coming into this space to protect us, to allow us to play freely, to give us the space to connect to this physical body that we call ourself, our whole self, as above, so below. Let us play sacredly with each other and tune into who we are. Whether your eyes are open or closed, this is welcomed. Continuing to breathe into this body of yours, this sweet body, allowing this breath to nourish you and connect you to the elements we've just called in, to the ancestors that I will continue to call in, and any spirit guides or animals that need to come in at this time, giving us this real honoring of the physical body, but coming into that tree like nervous system, the pieces of us that are unseen but felt, the parts of us that are below the surface, below the skin, and also on the skin itself. With each inhale and each exhale, allowing yourself to draw in just a little bit deeper, noticing where the breath may need to go to help you grow, to release, and to connect fully, feeling each part of those fibers. And even if you're not able to fully understand the nervous system that is lying within you, just feel the magic, feel the spark within, breathing in and coming from the top of the head, scanning as you're breathing and exhaling the eyes, the ears, the cheeks, your nose, your mouth, and anywhere in between the vertebrae and the back of the neck, bringing that breath all the way down into the shoulders, into the arms, into the elbows, down to the wrists, into the fingertips, into the core and the trunk of your body, feeling those lungs expanding and letting go, down into the lower back, the hips, the pelvic region. And feeling into the thighs, down to the knees, into the legs, down to the ankles, the heels, and down the feet and out into the toes. Letting yourself have a grounding core down into the earth so that you can bring in this healing energy. And within each inhale and each exhale, allowing some space to feel that pelvic floor just relax and sink down. Notice how that shifts your body, giving yourself some gratitude for the ability and the capacity of where you're at with this practice. Giving yourself a few more breaths here before we move into our practice of really appreciating how we can breathe freely. We're going to be working with some lung energy tonight because of honoring the air and the air that we breathe. And so when it feels right for you, you can come back to this space, listening to my voice and hearing and thinking about lung energy and what that means for you. Visualizing the lungs for a moment and how they branch apart like tree roots, maybe, or tree branches. And with these next few breaths, just really breathing in to the capacity of filling the lungs, and then seeing if you can just inhale just a little bit more and hold it if it feels good. If you feel lightheaded or woozy or anything like that, please just be really gentle with this practice and only go to your own capacity. And as you are inhaling and exhaling, inviting you to see the exchange that happens. As that inhale happens, new fresh air, oxygen is coming into the body. And on the exhale, those little tiny capillaries are now doing the exchange, and the CO2 is able to leave the body. Exhaling out of the mouth or the nose, your choice, whatever feels good. This is an invitation to find your breath and how it feels good for you. This is that uncontrolled, mutable energy of Gemini, honoring it in a way of letting it spill in and spill out for the sake of expansion. And when you're ready, you might find your right hand or your left hand coming up to your shoulder. And as it comes up to your shoulder, just notice how it feels to touch your shoulder. And then slowly start to walk your fingers down your shoulder. And the pathway it's going to be walking down towards is down to your thumb. So it's going down the arm. I think you can see me there. I'm gonna go down your arm and towards your thumb. You might notice, for those that are here live, I'm walking my fingers down, and obviously those of you that are watching on the replay, you can see me too. I'm walking them down today. See, the energy is really fast right now. The energy is really fast right now. And so our breath is one of the things that we can come to ourselves to start to slow ourselves down. And so when we trace our lung meridian, what we're doing is we're clearing out any blockages that might be holding us back from a full breath. And you might start to notice that there might be sensitive parts along this line, and that's okay. This is the invitation to pay attention to what your body is telling you back. You might need to pause. You might need to maybe come back to this practice and repeat it. But just really trust into what you feel in your body. And for me, I'm noticing it sort of like in my bicep area that I need to spend a little more time there, a little bit more pressure. And we can just thank the body when those signs show up. Have gratitude for it when those little pieces show up. You'll notice that I'm tracing one side and then the other side. This is a journey of your own connection to your own body. If you want to do one side until it feels complete, and then move to the other side. This is a choose your own adventure. We'll do this a few more times. And we're going to go into a tiny little movement once you're complete after a few more times. One of the things that we love when we post our Meridian Mondays is our weekly forecast post with a little few tidbits about the transits, and then giving you this meridian to trace each week. There's something that happens when we can start to honor these lines of energy in our body. This is a way that we can ground ourselves. This is a way we can bring ourselves back to the body, but also to honor the fact that this is an energy line that backs up that organ system, but also that organ energy. There's something that comes to mind when I think about the breath and mutable energy of Gemini, is being able to start to come back to controlling that breath So by, as I mentioned, by clearing that line, we can start to get any resistance or any stress to really taking in as much air as we possibly can and then releasing as much as we can. So I'll invite you to bring your fingertips to the top of your head and then just enough pressure just to hold the skin. We're not here to tap or to put any pressure. It's just enough to feel the cerebral spinal fluid. Again, this is part of our lung energy and having this connection to it. It's just about allowing more blood flow. So as you're here, or maybe you're going to use this tool later on at another time, this is a way we can bring more blood flow to our lungs. So if there is some friction or some tension or some chaos, many of us have little ones around us, or either siblings or parents can act like siblings or toddlers too. Self-referencing on that one. If we're in this chaosness, this is something that we can go to. We can come to just touching the top of our head, just enough to feel the skin, and take some breaths here. Notice if you're tense in your shoulders, you can drop them down. And same with your jaw, drop it down. And what will be happening here shortly for you is feeling a pulsation from your fingertips. And what we're looking for, the end goal that we're looking for as a signal from the body is that we'll have an equal drumbeat from the right to the left and the left to the right. And then all of a sudden it'll come into unison. You might yawn or shift, as well as another sign. But the ultimate goal here is to feel the pulsation of the fingertips or cerebral spinal fluid coming into balance and signaling us. Good. There we go. Bringing your arms down, just giving them a shake out. For those of you watching the recording, this is where we're going to have a little pause and check in with those that are here live before we start talking about the transits. And, if you're wanting to show up live for our next one, we'll make sure, there should be a link in our bio for it. Otherwise, just reach out and connect or tag us in a comment, email us at theenergeticbrew@gmail.com, because we want to support you and be able to show up for you in a good way. So we will be back with a second part. We're going to be talking about, as Zane mentioned, we're going to be talking about that Pluto retrograde and how might it be showing up for you. So we'll see you in just a moment. Welcome back to the next part where we're going to be talking about the transits. I was just saying to those that are here live, the reason why we were working with the lungs and the arms and the hands today, because that's the part of the body that Gemini rules. So when we look at medical astrology, there's different parts of the body each season that the sun is switching into that's bringing light, life, and vitality. Or you could also say more attention to that area. We're talking about, again, the lungs, the hands, and the arms. And so this is part of why we want to trace that lung meridian. It's on our arms, it goes down to our thumb, part of our hands, but it's also helping us to clear that energy from the lungs. And then again, holding that point on the top of the head. If this is something that you want to learn more about when it comes to your specific chart, please do reach out. And I'm seeing little Iris. It's so funny. I'm surprised the camera didn't move. Nonetheless, I digress. So we're going to be talking about the transits now. The sun will be moving into Gemini when we are going to be feeling that more of that energy. It is mutable energy, meaning it's energy that does not want to be contained. It's the season between summer. It's not quite summer yet. It's again coming into summer. And it's then also sort of starting to say goodbye to spring. That is going to be happening at 5:59 a.m. Pacific time. It's actually I understood that PDT is actually Pacific Daylight Time now. And that'll be happening on May the 20th. This will happen on a 6 energy day. So just notice that what kind of beauty and balance during the season of Gemini can you be doing for yourself? And we're going to start now talking about the Pluto retrograde. So if you don't have your chart out in front of you, now would be a good time to grab it. Those that are here live, we're going to go over your charts. That's the benefit of showing up for these calls. So Zane, I'll pass that over to you because you did a lot of research on this.
Yeah, I did a bit of deep diving because Pluto, for those that don't know, moves really slowly. Like we're talking about it takes like over 100 years to move back to the same point it was in the sky where it once was. So I had to do a bit of history diving, but before I go into the history majorly, I do have to note that on May 2nd, a 6 energy day, Pluto went retrograde. And so that's why we're bringing it up. It's because Pluto went retrograde. And so through that, we wanted to talk about it, but then also that piece of where it's going to retrograde to, because it's in retrograde all the way back into Capricorn. And so before we go into those exact dates, I want to ask you on the replay, also those that are live, go ahead and add in chat of what do you know about Aquarius and what do you think about Pluto being in Aquarius? Because these recordings and live sessions are that piece of bringing in that piece of learning, but then also that safe space to learn and fumble through. Because astrology is an art, and there's no really true answer, there's no wrong answer. There's only the interpreter's answer and the respondent, in a sense, or the person that's receiving the information. So I encourage you to speak your light and speak your viewpoint because that's what Aquarius is being in the community, having freedom and being able to speak our light. And Pluto is the planet of the underworld and also death. But then that's that piece of what is internal that can maybe transform or what can be changed. And so within that piece, it is adding all of those pieces of what can be transformed within our community, our freedom, and Aquarius is also technology. So it's also that piece of maybe we'll see technological changes when it comes down to this transit. Maybe we'll see more action within our community. Maybe community will show up differently. And so another question for you is maybe there is some things in your community that aren't sitting well for you and maybe needs to change. And know that change is all right. It is that piece of refusing to change that can end up putting us in bad situations or that piece of feeling incomplete or maybe stagnant and looking for something. And then it's that piece of we're maybe looking at it from the wrong angle and need to change our viewpoint. And I feel that's what Pluto is that piece of really uplifting and changing viewpoints and stoking that fire that is like a little tiny spark that needs to be into a raging inferno that then can actually speak up. And so with that happening, Pluto is also going back into Capricorn. And with it going back in Capricorn, Capricorn is about structures. So we might also see a change of structures needing to happen. And because Pluto moves so slowly, it won't be an instant change of structures. So don't feel like it's gonna all of a sudden be crazy all of a sudden. It's gonna be a slow process. It will maybe even be like a decade later that we'll actually see this really change. It might be from 5 years, but it's not going to be like an immediate change. It's going to be a slow paced change. So know that it's all right to take your time with change because change doesn't happen instantly. And it's only time that will make it so that change can happen. And so the exact dates that Pluto moves back into Capricorn is September 1st. And this lines up really well is because there's even more signs of like needing to end structures because it's a 9 energy day, a number of endings. And so maybe on the September 1st, maybe writing down in your journals now, preparing yourself to have that note that there might be change on the horizon for you when it comes down to structure. Capricorn is also career. So maybe there's that slight career change. Maybe there's a different way you tackle your career and you approach your career or job. So know that that is coming up and know that it's not going to be instantly taken away. But know that there's going to be some form of like ruffling of feathers, that there will be needing to happen because Pluto is saying change needs to happen. But it's those that are stuck in the current times that can't handle the change that will be hit the hardest with it. And so this retrograde will end on October 11th. We will still be in the shadow of Pluto retrograde, but it won't go any further into Capricorn on October 11th, a 2 energy day, the number of community. So it will be bringing momentum of community back into the sign of community Aquarius. And so that piece all coming together is really what can change within your wherever Capricorn lands in your personal chart, for those that have their chart done, and looking at where things could change within that house. So then your house that Aquarius lands in can bring in a certain degree of community, freedom. Maybe it's something to do with technology, so maybe it's online, or maybe it's just a better relationship with technology. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated of how this shows up in your life. It can be just as simple as like how maybe there's a pebble on the side of the road that you kicked. You barely even notice it, but it's there. And so when Pluto moves back into Aquarius is November 19th, another 2 energy day, a day of community with Pluto asking for change in the collective, in the community, because Aquarius lands in the house of the community for the collective. So this is very much a piece of when it comes down to the collective, how can community change? How can technology change? How can freedom show up? Within that, there's that piece of really asking yourself, what can be removed so then the new can grow? Mercury also trions Chiron as well when it moves back into Aquarius. So there's that piece of communicating and the time for healing within our communication, but then also that piece when it comes down to community and for what needs to be heard within the community to be heard so further healing can happen. So the piece of the history driving that I mentioned, this so within this piece, might alarm some people, but again, this is only a piece of what has happened, and it's not going to look the same. It's going to look very different because there's other aspects. Either there's other aspects happening in the sky than what there was happening back when it was Pluto was last in Aquarius. There are similarities, but not everything is the same. So I want people to take note when I say these years, because some people might associate them bad and this might be a bad omen. But it's also that piece of, for me personally, I saw a lot of change that people were standing up for themselves. And there were people standing up for other people. Because the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was 1777 and 1778 were major dates that it was entering into Aquarius. Because much like what it is doing this year, it did back in those years, where it moved into Aquarius and retrograded back into Capricorn. Roughly the same degrees too, even on the second time. And so it's just fascinating to see that, because there's that piece of what happened in those years. For those that don't know, the American Revolution was majorly in that time period, right in the middle of it. But for me, most people instantly associate that with, oh no, war. I go, but those were people standing up for themselves, of saying, no, we don't want this anymore. We want this. And so it's that piece of, how can that show up in nowadays? I think about like the plus community immediately is what came to mind when I thought of people standing up for themselves, of how they are showing up. And again, this was something happening way back. But again, like I said, change is gradual. So now that it might be that decades down the road, we might see that community slightly different. They might have a different standing in what we see society is now today. So I want you to maybe see if like how going back 5 years of what maybe started to progress a certain change within your life. So then that was that little pebble on the side of the road that was kicked, that then led into more, that led into a different side of change. And again, we may not know what that pebble was or where it was along the road, but I'm sure if you look back, there is some form of change that happened within your community or your sense of freedom that started to happen. And it's only going to start to change more as this transit goes on. I'm going to take a pause to get a drink of water. Rochelle, would you like to hop on this?
That was beautiful. He did say that he was going to do more talking. Wow, I'm speechless now, which is weird. Usually I would have something to say, but nonetheless, no, I love you, child. This is so good. Part of this that I really, as Zane was saying, is that is not about us going into a sense of fear about these transits. It's about using and utilizing the transit and putting in that, what if it was because of community support like this and the ones that are coming in alignment in your life right now that are helping to put a whole new frequency into the collective? This transit happens to be going to be raking over my sun and my Mars, and it's doing this again, and it has already done it previously. And so what I'm wanting to really share with is that this is about us being able to have the opportunity to really see what's not working for us. So if you don't know where this is landing in your chart, look at any of the cardinal signs. So the signs that start the seasons, we're talking Aries, Cancer, My mind went blank, Libra, and of course, Capricorn. You want to look at anywhere in those four signs what you might have at 29 degrees. This is going to, Pluto's going to be really activating it with this transit. And when this happens at these anaretic degrees, the last degrees of a sign, it really is about up leveling our spirituality, our connection to what is our faith within us, with what we want within us. And so if you're listening to this and this is, we're talking about the collective energy right now, you're wanting to have more about how is this affecting you personally, reach out for a reading. And with that, this is where we're going to pause. I'm going to notice where the time is. Those that are here live, they get little mini readings because that's part of what we like to do, and so that they can grow into theirs. And because of confidentiality and privacy, we don't add it into the recording. So I'm really sorry. But I am going to invite you, and Zane's going to invite you, and the rest of this community to come in and join with us, because we have this collective, beautiful conversation around what we're seeing and how we're growing and utilizing the transits to stir our brew instead of it feeling like it's stirring us. So we'll see you in the next segment, where we're going to wrap things up, release the support that we called in energetically, and then answer any questions and connection again before we wrap up with the live call. The next part of the recording is really going to be about helping you to grow with a little bit more of some of the other dates that you might wanting to be jotting down, and how to transition from the end of May and into June. That'll be in our next segment. Okay, so welcome back to our final section for this class, our monthly class, where we talk about the transits and help you to stir your brew rather than it stirring you. Want to draw an attention to that in May, we are in a 4 energy month. If you're still listening to this and it's still May 2024, this is a time to be really taking care of practical, physical connections. Depending on how this is showing up in your numerical blueprint, for the collective, this is about getting physical. It's about getting our feet on the earth. This is much about like what Taurus season is about, really connecting to this part of how am I building foundation for myself? How am I taking time for my physical body? Because if we're not going to take care of that, it's going to show up for us in June. It might bite us with our emotional capacity, our connection to how we are showing up emotionally. So if we haven't taken care of ourselves physically during the month of May, June is going to show us the results through our energy, through the emotions. So as we end the month of May, we're going to finish up on an 8 energy day. This is a good day to take care of finances. It's a good day to take care of things, of systems that create momentum for ourselves. We might feel like, whoo, it's really time and we're ramping up. Except for what's going to end up happening is when it flips over to June, we're going to go into a 6 energy day. And so it might feel a little bit jerky when we go from May into June, and being able to really take some consideration on how do I create balance. The good news is that that manifestation cycle that would have started for us just after the full moon on May the 24th is when this manifestation cycle begins. So make a note of May the 24th. And that manifestation cycle then is going to last until June the 4th. So we kind of have this extra long runway. So for those that are working on business, wanting to do some more work on releasing and letting go with that Scorpio full moon, or pardon me, that Sagittarius full moon on the 23rd, really just take some time for yourself to really embrace what shows up. Sagittarius is all about the freedom journey. It's all about creating abundance for oneself. It rules the thighs in the body. So it's like, again, feeling yourself into that physicalness of your body with that full moon. I know we kind of covered it a little bit about it last class, but I just thought I would bring this up. Is just really taking some time, releasing and letting go. And with that, I feel like I shrapneled you with a lot of information at the end here. Zane, do you have anything that you want to add?
No, I'm like, sadly, we didn't have enough time tonight to go into Jupiter majorly, but quick crash course on that one. Jupiter's moving into Gemini. Some more possibility of spontaneous conversations, but it's also going to be a two energy day. So again, that piece of expansion of possible community, whatever that looks like for you. And again, it might look like something completely different depending on your personal natal chart. That is the biggest piece. This is for the collective. So what it looks like for you might look like something different from me. So know that it will show up the way that it is meant to show up for you. Is a matter of fact of you being able to receive it and respond to it appropriately. Otherwise, the roads get bumpy.
Yeah, they
With
sure.
that piece, I will end it there because, yeah, it is getting late in the night. And for those that have been live, we have gone over time slightly. So we are going to respect their time and close off this recording piece and close the circle with them. I believe with you here in the recording, and I'll pass that over to Rochelle.
You. Yeah. So the call that we had in for all of the energetic support, we're just saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and allowing it to return, allowing ourselves to assimilate, integrate the information that was shared. Those that have questions, those that have just this intuitive hit that it's time to get your chart read, reach out because that's what we're here for. You want to come back again, we're going to make sure that there is a link there for you. You can find it within our bio. Come in and join us. The next class is going to be coming in at you on the second Thursday of June, which is, I believe, the 13th, June the 13th is our next class. And we'll be here same time, same place. So this is where we can break apart what's going to happen for the next season to come, for us to be able to start to welcome in summer cardinal Cancer energy. And just so much gratitude for you sharing this information, inviting others to come in and join the community so we can connect and to create together. And yes, Zane is confirming with me next class is June the 13th. And for those of you that are here live, we're welcoming you back as well. Those of you that are watching the recording, come in and join us. And with that, we have so much love and admiration and gratitude for you. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you watching. Make sure to leave any comments or any questions down below, and we'll be sure to see you again very, very soon. Continue to watch for the Meridian Mondays. Every week, we give you a little whole being wellness practice tool, meridian that goes with the transits to help you in between these classes. Again, just feeling that whole being wellness awakening with you. So make it a great day. We'll see you all very, very soon.